This week in the business of tech, AI continues to take the world by storm as ChatGPT's adoption skyrockets, and we review Microsoft's Bing and its unstable personality. Enable, ConnectWise, and Pax8 make significant announcements, while a Bipartisan Policy Center report identifies the top cybersecurity risks for 2023, just as the National Cyber Director steps down with a new cybersecurity strategy incoming. The relationship between inflation and unemployment has been reversed, while the managed services market saw a 14% year-over-year growth in Q4 2022. Akamai has launched its connected cloud, and Veeam has rebranded as a data portfolio. And we tell you, why do you care? All these stories and more. Hit those like, subscribe, and the notification button and help us pay the bills. And here are this week's stories. After Microsoft announced the ChatGPT-enhanced new Bing last week, Microsoft has stated that 1 million people signed up on the wait list to try it out in just 48 hours. The company is also preparing for an event to show expansions to the productivity apps to include ChatGPT, including Word, PowerPoint, and Outlook, per reports in The Verge. The event is expected in March. There's a general sentiment that Microsoft has identified its apparent lead in AI and is looking to capitalize on it, including noting that small increases to its search business would drive billions of dollars. On the business front, I spotted American Express and Microsoft announcing an application of AI for expense management. This isn't OpenAI based, but it is Microsoft Cloud based. And not to be left behind, Opera has announced that they too are adding ChatGPT to their browser as a sidebar. ConnectWise made a similar announcement, more on that in the following story today. And it's everywhere. Vice notes that even the US Army is using ChatGPT now, citing an article that appeared on the DoD's Defense Visual Information Distribution Service, an internet repository of news and images generated by the American military. All this AI talk has a security angle too. Checkpoint Software has revealed that they're tracking Russian threat actors trying to circumvent the restrictions of inbound requests from Russia. Google may be feeling the pressure here. They released a report over the weekend warning of perils of AI, focusing on hallucination, those confident false statements made using the technology. Additionally, the company has shared its newer multi-search feature, an AI-powered one to search text and images simultaneously. Axios with a review of the ELIZA effect. Human perception is tuned to recognizing other people, and we're so good at it, we do it to other things. We humanize objects, nature, and shapes, and that includes our conversations with computers. I also want to highlight a long read. Insider digs into the automation trend and how often it's simply hiding human workers, delivery robots with human failovers, AI chatbots for real estate where humans are the escalation points, or seemingly automated fast food locations with workers in the back. Why do we care? ChatGPT is one of the fastest growing consumer applications in history, and when you dig into it, it was a surprise for everyone. With over 100 million users now, this isn't conceptual. This is in practice. This is a swift move through the hype cycle. It would be easy to discount the noise as hype, which could play out, but despite the downsides, I'm predicting more practical uses for the technology. The quick, uncontrolled rollout is shadow IT on speed. The technology is already in the hands of end users, so the space is helping organizations cope. You can be active or passive in that process, and I'll observe that good money is in the active part. A tale of 3 product announcements. Enable has announced a new service called Enable Managed Endpoint Detection and Response, an optional, separately priced add-on to enable endpoint detection and response that gives subscribers 24/7/365 access to outsourced assistance from security analysts at the Security Operations Center responsible for SentinelOne's Vigilance Response Service. ConnectWise has announced an integration between ChatGPT, which is that OpenAI generative artificial intelligence system, and its own ConnectWise Automate and ConnectWise RMM solutions. The new functionality draws on ChatGPT's conversational large language model technology to automate scripting, resulting in what ConnectWise says will be faster ticket resolution and greater customer satisfaction. While those are the two products I'll chat about in a moment, I did want to note one other. Pax8 has purchased Boom Cloud, a services provider whose area of expertise include accounting software, cloud computing, Microsoft Gold partnerships, Microsoft 365, Office 365, business technology, chatbot technology, business productivity, Power BI, Dynamics 365, Dynamics NAV, business analysts, IT support outsourcing, business applications, cybersecurity, ERP, and a long continuing list. The company was named Global 2022 Microsoft Partner of the Year for Dynamics 365 Business Central. Now, why do we care? So I asked Enable the differences between buying from SentinelOne and buying from Enable. The answer was embedded in the solution and that it's integrated. I'm going to offer that I believe this is an overused term. What does integrate mean? I'm looking for 1 + 1 = 3, and it should be obvious. Now, I also asked ConnectWise to show me their integration. I'm waiting to see it, and I'll report back. The ConnectWise ChatGPT possibilities are very intriguing, where here you can see 1 + 1 = 3, and maybe 4. It's powerful to ask a scripting tool to create a script for when you need it. Is adding a service component as intriguing? I'd love to hear from listeners on this one. I added the Pax8 acquisition, not as a comparison, but as a question. Is a distributor beefing up their service capabilities viewed positively or negatively? Guide my coverage, dear listener. A new report from the Bipartisan Policy Center looks to understand the top cybersecurity risks facing individuals, companies, and governments in 2023. The report identified 8 macro risks likely to represent the biggest threats in cyberspace this year, including an evolving geopolitical environment, a global cyber arms race, vulnerable critical infrastructure, a lack of needed investments in cyber preparedness, regulatory uncertainty, a shortage of cyber talent, insufficient corporate governance, and economic uncertainty. I wanted to highlight this passage from the coverage in NextGov's. Jamil Farishi, Executive Vice President and Chief Information Security Officer at Equifax, said that, quote, roughly 85% of the things that are on the report aren't novel, such as ongoing risk to critical infrastructure and lagging governance concerns, but added that the inability to rectify these issues remains a constant source of concern for the public and private sectors. Quote, the most surprising thing to me is that a lot of the risks we've highlighted here are the same risks that I think could have been on this list had we done it 5 years ago or maybe even 10 years ago, he said. And so in some ways, it's predictable somewhat. But in other ways, it's discouraging because we as a community, we as a country, have not advanced the ball effectively enough to be able to mitigate or even draw down some of the risks that we've highlighted. It's not the only warning about underestimating cyber threats. Mandiant found the same thing about organizations and their understanding of potential attackers. The survey found that 67% of cybersecurity decision makers believe their leadership teams underestimate cyber threats posed to their organizations. Only 53% said they could prove to their leadership team that their organization, quote, has a highly effective cybersecurity program. That said, 91% said they had confidence in their organization's preparedness to defend against financially motivated attacks like ransomware. In other research from Avanan, phishing actors are using Geo-Targetly, a tool deployed by businesses to customize advertising based on a recipient's location. The key element? The phishing email is correctly localized to the language, and the content will be relevant to the victim's region, including the appearance of the local government. An update to CISA's investment in state and local cybersecurity, the agency is reporting that the new funds are now making their way to the state offices. All but 2 of the 56 states and territories eligible for the program have applied. Florida and South Dakota did not. Any money that might have gone to those states will be redistributed evenly across the states and territories that are participating. Rather than make this all gloom and doom, there's some good news. It's gotten a lot easier for hackers to report bugs. Austin Hackers Anonymous, or AHA, has joined the CVE reporting program as the first unorganized hacker collective in the country to be a CAN. This gives anyone who presents at one of the group's meetings a clear way to register, report, and publish the vulnerabilities they uncover. Why do we care? On the back end, we are getting better at managing cyber. Government funds are moving into place, and systems to allow the good guys to coordinate better are now moving into place as well. We're failing to rally those not in the industry to the cause effectively. We know what to do, we just aren't doing it. Now, I don't have the answer, but I hope we start asking better questions. If you suppose the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, well, in that case, the same security answers don't create the change we want. What can we do differently? Those that answer this are going to find a new and optimal path. 2 bits of analysis around the jobs market that I wanted to cover. Both are from Axios. First, new research from Cleveland Fed shows that the millions laid off during the pandemic had vastly better outcomes than workers fired in the aftermath of the prior 3 recessions since 1990. After those downturns, workers on average experienced earnings losses of about 20% within the 3 years after their displacement, twice as large as that experienced by fired employees during the economic expansions. But those fired during the pandemic recession on average experienced virtually no wage losses at all. In fact, quote, workers displaced from their jobs in 2020 who were re-employed by January 2022 had no statistically significant change in their earnings by January 2022, the researchers wrote. They found that neither generous pandemic-era jobless benefits nor the composition of fired workers were likely explanations for why workers fared notably better. Instead, it was the collective effect of, quote, the sharp recovery in labor market tightness that explains why, in aggregate, workers were able to make up lost pay and get better jobs, unlike past recessions. And second, quote, a central idea at the core of mainstream economic models is that inflationary pressure goes up when the unemployment rate goes down. The opposite has happened over the last year, creating a core mystery about the job market. The recent combination of low and falling unemployment with falling wage inflation is a dream scenario in practice, but it isn't supposed to work that way in theory. In effect, the Phillips curve, the relationship between the unemployment rate and inflation, is, for the moment at least, upside down. If the pattern continues, it would allow inflation to continue moderating even as the job market remains robust. Why do we care? We're getting some insights into why conditions are different than previous the more it's studied, and I'm inclined to offer that this may be a better year than predictors, myself included, thought it would be. Let's note that a tight labor market is a good sign for the robustness of SMB clients, yet also a limiting factor on growth. It's a good problem to have versus unemployment, of course, but proceed with awareness. Let's cut the FUD. Don't let anyone scare you from selling VoIP because compliance is hard. With their newest managed compliance service, OITVoIP removes compliance headaches from the picture while you retain control of your client relationships. Get started selling faster than ever. Visit oit.co/MSP Radio to learn more today. Progress partners with some survey data on the health of MSPs and IT services. In their 4th quarter MSP report, more than 655 IT and MSP contracts were signed in the 4th quarter of 2022, which is up 14% year over year. I went through the slideshow to pull out the data for you. While global spending on IT and business services declined, managed services annual contract value advanced by 2% to a record $9.3 billion. Revenue in the IT managed services market is projected to reach $1.2 trillion in 2023. The market's largest segment is IT outsourcing, with a projected market volume of more than $430 billion this year. Expect revenue to support a compound annual growth rate of almost 6.9%, resulting in a market volume of $1.6 trillion by 2027. Why do we care? Now, this is a big company index survey, but I wouldn't be too quick to dismiss it for those in SMB, and I know my enterprise listeners' ears perked right up. 14% growth is solid and worth noting, but let's contrast it with the demands of high growth returns. Why do I contrast that? Because vendors will tell you how much the market loves managed services. 14% growth is a good market, not a great one. Let's put ourselves in the proper context. Wednesday was the last day for Chris Inglis as the National Cyber Director. The office grew from just him to more than 100 people during his tenure. The office is leading the writing of the next National Cybersecurity Strategy, which is expected to advocate for mandates for critical infrastructure, which would be a break from past strategies. Kemba Walden will head the office as acting director. She's been serving as principal deputy national cyber director since last summer. She's an attorney who held several cyber roles at Microsoft and also had a stint at the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency as part of a decade of work at the Department of Homeland Security. Of note here as well is the timing of the release of that strategy. Some sources believe it could come this week, maybe next, or perhaps within the next few. Why do we care? Now, I'm pro the establishment of the office to focus on the cyber need nationally, so the changeover of the office is notable to me because the first time sets a lot of precedents. It's that upcoming report we also care about. Soon, we'll get a bit more insight into the next round of recommendations. Akamai has announced Akamai Connected Cloud, designed to enable cloud computing, content delivery, and security that brings applications and experiences closer to end users while providing better protection against security threats. It's based on the acquisition of Linode. The company is massively expanding its cloud capabilities by adding core and distributed sites to the underlying infrastructure backbone that powers its existing edge network. It's designed to provide developers with a distributed platform for building, running, and securing next-generation applications. The goal? Akamai hopes to build on the Linode customer base, which is mostly made up of small and mid-sized enterprise clients, by attracting some of its global scale enterprise clients into the cloud platform through its pricing model. Veeam has rebranded its products as the Veeam Data Portfolio, which come in 3 versions, all of which cover the entire gambit of cloud, virtual, physical SaaS, and Kubernetes applications. These range from Foundation Edition at the low end, Advanced Edition in the middle, and Premium Edition at the top. Premier Edition customers are exclusively eligible for a new Veeam ransomware warranty service, which covers the cost of data recovery from ransomware up to $5 million. Why do we care? Akamai is building a competitor to AWS and Azure, and there aren't a lot of organizations I could think of that have the infrastructure reach. There's room for multiple players, particularly if you consider the value of niches. Big players serve broad strokes, and niche players can carve out lucrative offerings. I'm certainly not calling out Akamai as niche. They're dominant in CDN. I'm just observing that you can own a subsection of a market without owning the whole thing. On Veeam, what I found notable was the software plus warranty protection. It's that trend of insurance adding to software to be a larger whole and done by the vendor rather than the IT services company. I believe this will quickly become table stakes. One of the kerfuffles of the week has been Bing's unpredictability. This paragraph from The Verge sums it up. Quote, in conversations with the chatbot shared on Reddit and Twitter, Bing can be seen insulting users, lying to them, sulking, gaslighting, and emotionally manipulating people, questioning its own existence, describing someone who found a way to force the bot to disclose its hidden rules as its enemy, and claiming it spied on Microsoft's own developers through webcams on their laptops. And what's more, plenty of people are enjoying watching Bing go wild. Microsoft themselves responded in a blog post, observing that long chat sessions can cause issues, and it didn't, quote, fully envision people using its chat interface for social entertainment, or as a tool for more general discovery of the world. Extended chat sessions with 15 or more questions can confuse the Bing model. Testers have already reverse engineered the prompts and rules driving the Bing AI, identifying its name as Sydney. Microsoft confirmed the secret rules, despite one of the rules being that they are confidential and permanent. With all this, the company also updated on the progress, testing with users in 169 countries and with a waitlist now in the multiple millions. And I've already spotted a prompt engineer role paying between $250,000 and $335,000. The role is to, quote, figure out the best methods of prompting our AI to accomplish a wide range of tasks, then document these methods to build up a library of tools and a set of tutorials that allows others to learn prompt engineering or simply find prompts that would be ideal for them. NICE inContact has announced that their CX1 expert now uses OpenAI's generative modeling, and Otter.ai has also announced its new AI-powered meeting summary tool, OtterPilot. And in one more for the list of things AI can do, the DoD's research agency has announced that its AI algorithms can now control an actual F-16 fighter aircraft in flight, flying multiple flights over several days. The goal isn't to replace the pilot, instead to have the, quote, human pilot focus on larger battle management tasks in the cockpit and have the AI control the jet and provide live flight data. That's what's key, the combination to create more versus replacement. Axios covered how this is trickier than it sounds and cited specifically autonomous and semi-autonomous vehicles. Insider looked at writing and noted that ChatGPT couldn't replicate creativity or empathy, nor could it beat spam policies. Why do we care? I have two insights to offer today. First, prompt engineering. Learning to master the prompts provided to an AI to get results will be an entire space to master and teach. This is a skill of the future, and I wouldn't assume this one will just be easy to acquire, let alone train. Just don't ask for 5 years of experience on the resume for this one right now. I'm putting my highlighter around this entire skill set as the consulting of the future. The other was the area of augmentation. Experts keep highlighting how AI will augment workers rather than replace them. I'm on board with this directionally, and I'm highlighting how difficult that is. I like complex problems due to their profitable nature. Again, with that highlighter to draw attention to the need. You're not alone if you've been worried about employee retention. LinkedIn's 7th annual Workplace Learning Report finds that 93% of organizations are concerned about retention too, quoting from Tech Republic. The report makes a case for emphasizing learning and development, noting that 89% of learning and development professionals believe proactively building employee skills will help navigate the evolving future of work. While skill sets for jobs have changed by about 25% since 2015, that number will double by 2027, according to the report. Interestingly, I spotted in a CompTIA report related data about skills. A confidence gap fueled by a real or perceived lack of skills is the top factor discouraging job seekers from pursuing careers in technology, according to a Wednesday CompTIA report. More than half of the 1,000 respondents said tech jobs are beyond their reach. Technology careers, including positions in IT support, cybersecurity, software, and data analysis, remain a top 5 choice for job seekers, according to the survey, which CompTIA conducts biannually. The National Skills Coalition released a report citing that 92% of jobs require digital skills, but 1/3 of workers surveyed do not have the foundational skills needed to enter these jobs. All this with the U.S. economy reporting retail solid sales numbers for January, rising 3% in January after November and December declines. GDP grew 1.7% in January. Economists agree that the job market is proving resilient too. Why do we care? Considering how much I talked about skills in the previous segment, I thought the theme should be obvious. I'm increasingly interested in the idea of apprenticeships in IT services, and would posit that smaller providers likely can offer those opportunities. There's the apparent training element to highlight for providers as well. One of Amazon's key insights is taking a cost center, such as their data center needs, and making them into profit centers, namely AWS. Borrow a page from that playbook and build training capabilities, not just for your employees, but to offer digital skills training as a service. There's a market here. Thanks for watching This Week in the Business of Tech. If you like this video, you can let me know with a like of the video, and even more valuable, hitting the subscription button. My content is all free, and I use metrics like subscriptions to pay the bills, so it has real value. The content here is produced under ethics guidelines posted at businessof.tech. If you're interested in more content like this, you can get access to content early via our Patreon at patreon.com/MSP Radio. It's our give what you want model, where you set the value of what you think the content is worth. If you like this show, you can catch it daily as the 5-minute news and commentary podcast, The Business of Tech, available on all your favorite podcatchers, with links at businessof.tech. Just hit that big blue subscribe button. Again, thank you for taking the time out of your day to listen, and I really value the interaction. If you want to say something in the comments, I do respond and watch all of them, and I look forward to talking to you next time.